Hi guys. So here's the story of how in 1947 Muslim soldiers of the Kashmir army betrayed Kashmir, their fellow brothers in arms and their Gurkha colleagues to be precise. How did a bunch of untrained tribesmen defeat the forces of Kashmir state? After all, howsoever small the forces, Kashmir did have a trained army and could have easily defeated the tribesmen. The answer lies in the betrayal by almost all the Muslim soldiers in the Kashmiri Maharaja's army. This chapter of Bharatiya history has been tactfully hidden from public scrutiny. However, books on the subject frankly mention this great betrayal. First, the duplicity at Tharochi Fort. On the night of 15th-16th October 1947, a large party of raiders laid siege to Tharochi Fort, where two companies of 2 JAK battalion, one Gurkha battalion and one Muslim battalion had taken refuge. Brigadier Chattar Singh, in command of the Mirpur Brigade, ordered his brigade major, Major Nasrullah Khan, to take 2 platoons of 3 JAK battalion to deliver supplies and ammunition to the garrison in the fort. On the way, he also acquired command of 2 companies sent earlier to relieve the already surrounded garrison. He deployed the Muslim company on perimeter defense duty outside the fort and told Gurkhas to rest. Nasrullah Khan then called a meeting of all Muslim officers and junior commissioned officers and hatched a plan to eliminate the non-Muslim elements. During the night, the Muslim company mercilessly butchered the sleeping Gurkhas. Sleeping Gurkhas in their sleep. The Gurkha commander, Captain Prem Singh, was strangled to death by Muslim officers of his own battalion. 2 Gurkha junior commissioned officers and 30 other ranks, it's a rank called other ranks, OR, they managed to escape that massacre. Major Nasrullah Khan then led the Muslim troops inside the Tharochi fort, where the garrison was unaware of the developments of the previous night, and received his team with joy. Yeah, achhi baat hai. Then at night, the unsuspecting Gurkhas were all murdered in a repeat performance. Their commander, Captain Raghubir Singh Thapa, was tortured to death. Then we come to the betrayal in Gilgit. Brigadier Ghansara Singh was appointed the governor of the Gilgit region by the Maharaja in August of 1947. He was to defeat the region with help of Gilgit scouts, the armed militia which owed its allegiance to Maharaja. Most of the soldiers in this body were recruited from Hansa and Nagar principalities. Ghansara Singh also had under him soldiers of 6 J&K infantry with its battalion headquarters at Bunji, 54 kilometers from Gilgit on the road to Srinagar. The battalion had Sikhs and Muslims in equal proportion. Most of the Muslims in the battalion were from Poonch. Sensing trouble, Ghansara Singh called for help from Srinagar, but a Muslim officer who manned the telegraph office at Gilgit did not forward the messages. On the night of 31st October to 1st November in 1947, British officers stationed in Gilgit under the employment of the Maharaja and Muslim soldiers and officers of Gilgit scouts treacherously captured Ghansara Singh. The 35 Sikhs of the 6th J&K infantry at Janglot were attacked by Muslim soldiers of their own unit. Only one survived the massacre by jumping into icy cold Indus River. The other Sikh troops at Bunji got information of the massacre and tried to slip away, but most were ruthlessly hunted and killed by Gilgit scouts and their own brothers in arms. The commander at Bunji, Lieutenant Colonel Abdul Majid Khan, however, was a rare Muslim officer who remained loyal to Maharaja and was put under arrest. On 3rd November 1947, Major Brown of Gilgit Scouts hoisted the Pakistani flag in the scout lines and declared victory for Pakistan. Treachery in Skardu. With the arrest of Lieutenant Colonel Abdul Majid Khan and the betrayal at Gilgit, the command of 6 J&K infantry now devolved on Major Sher Jung Thapa. Skardu was east of Gilgit and an important town. 6 J&K infantry was spread out thinly in penny packets from Leh to Bunji. I'm going to make a separate video on Colonel Sher Jung Thapa because he's called the Tiger of Skardu. I'm not going to make the video because he's called Tiger of Skardu but because he saved Skardu from going into Pakistan. Captain Ganga Singh commanded 2 platoons at Kargil, which entirely comprised of Sikhs. Skardu itself was held by 2 platoons under Captain Nek Alam with entirely Muslim soldiers. Thapa was at Leh when Gilgit fell and he was ordered to march to Skardu with whatever troops available. He arrived there on 3rd December and immediately noticed the hostile environment. The Muslim soldiers of the battalion were being incited to rebel and Gilgit scouts and raiders were moving towards Skardu. By mid-February, Skardu received some small reinforcements from Srinagar. Thapa had 130 non-Muslim and 31 Muslim troops in Skardu now. He had deployed Naik Alam and his Muslim platoon 32 kilometers towards west, on the road from Gilgit, which followed the river. Another platoon of Sikhs was positioned on the other bank of the river. This was at a place called Sari. Tsari. By the start of February, tribesmen and the traitors from 6 JNK infantry had completed all the plans to capture Skardu. On the 9th of February, the enemies attacked. Naik Alam and his soldiers immediately changed sides. Krishna Singh and his small platoon were routed and the survivors murdered in cold blood. Then they moved on towards Skardu, while Thapa was unaware of the disaster and treachery at Sari. The first attack by raiders on 11th February was beaten back while some Muslims of Thapa's garrison deserted. They left the team and went away, disappeared. Skardu also received some more reinforcements and now had 285 soldiers. Thapa also provided shelter to all the non-Muslims of the town, which numbered around 229. Skardu was surrounded by well-armed raiders and Muslim troops, while Thapa defended it bravely till August 14. They had fought without adequate ammunition, food, or even water. Finally, Skardu capitulated. All the surviving non-Muslims were murdered, but their women were not murdered. They were abducted, raped, and sold into brothels in Pakistan. Major Thapa and his team were the only ones kept alive. They were deliberately kept alive. He was returned to Bharat some days after the war and was awarded Mahavir Chakra by India. So here's the conclusion. The story of how Muslim soldiers in Maharaja's army repeatedly and at multiple places stabbed their Gurkha, Sikh and Dogra brothers in arms in the back is the hidden truth of Bharat's history. This history must never be forgotten. Many instances in history can be recounted where traitors combined with invaders to inflict a defeat on us. It is important that we learn from the mistakes we made so that our future can be secured. In 1941, the Hindu population in the area under the current occupation of Pakistan was more than 1 lakh. It was completely wiped out in massacres, especially in Rajouri, Poonch and Mirpur. Thousands of Hindu civilians were killed and the women sold in brothels in Pakistan. Unfortunately, we are still losing the demographic battle in Bharat. Its effects are already being seen in Bengal, Kerala, Kairana, etc. Also remember that all this was happening in the Kashmiri army under Maharaja Hari Singh. No such incident occurred after the Indian Army joined these operations. Because in the Indian army there were people like Brigadier Muhammad Usman, who immortalized himself in the Naushera sector and is known as the Lion of Naushera ka Sher, and in defense of Naushera and Jhangar, and we will discuss him separately in the next video.